Welcome to Daily Plunge. We're in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, verses 32 through 45. Now, Jesus is telling the disciples again, not predicting. It's not like this may or may not happen, right? He is telling them. But actually, where this all starts is they're on their way to Jerusalem. The disciples don't want to go to Jerusalem. They know that there's just conflict awaiting them. But Jesus is leading the way. And I think that begs the question is, how often do we let Jesus lead the way? It says that the disciples were astonished, amazed, in shock, and they're afraid of where Jesus is leading. And how often we would just like to avoid change and conflict, but that's where God may be leading us. Because to be God's servant in this world means that we're in opposition to the world that lives in rebellion to him. Now, Jesus takes the 12 aside. Once again, this intimate teaching he has with them, he's preaching to them. And he tells them, we're going up to Jerusalem. The Son of Man is going to be handed over, delivered on a plate to the leaders who are going to reject him, condemn him, right, to death. And then they're going to hand him over to the Gentiles, the pagans, who are going to mock, spit, flog, and kill him. So that's the word that Jesus has for them. Now, where Jesus' path, he says his path leads to rejection and crucifixion, right? These disciples have something else on their mind. James and John come up to Jesus and said, hey, when you come in your glory and you got your new kingdom in place, we want to sit at the board table right on your right and your left. And it's just hilarious. They're so tone deaf, right? And Jesus says, you don't know what you're asking. Can you drink the cup I'm going to drink? Can you be baptized with the baptism I'm going to be baptized with? What is Jesus talking about there? He is talking about the cross, right? And in this passage, Jesus is connecting the sacraments of communion and baptism to the work of the cross, and that when we partake in those sacraments, we are participating in the salvation event of the cross. And so Jesus himself is making this connection. And then he says that the place on the right and his left, that's already been prepared. And you think about when Jesus is lifted up in his glory on the cross, who is on his right and who's on his left? It's two thieves. Now, the other 10 hear about this and they're indignant. And they're not offended that James and John asked this. They're indignant that they asked it first. And Jesus has to tell them, what are the leaders of the pagans like? This is the same leaders that are going to put me to death, and they love to crow about their power and position. That's not the way it is in the kingdom. If you want to be great in the kingdom, you must take last place. If you want to be first among all, you must be a slave. And that's what Jesus is. He is a slave to God. He's obedient to the Father. He is going to carry out the Father's will. And that's why he says, for the Son of Man came not to heap praise on himself and to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Well, thanks, my friends. Have a blessed day.